All right, our screencast. This is just going to be an exercise. I want you to really think about this. We're going to go over it in class. I want to make sure that we're on the right page, mostly with advanced actions. Your design is going to come, okay? What I did, as you can see up here in the top left, is I did a responsive design. I did not do a blank. I did not do anything. I just did a responsive project, and I chose the iPhone 6, 7, and 8. Okay, you're more than welcome to do something that's specific to the phone that you have, but if you do not have that, just do the iPhone 6, 7, 8. And I don't, they should be fine. So that should be generic enough. And you got to figure we're doing this in a responsive aspect, so it will fit in anything. And again, we're doing a web app, so it will fit. What I want you to do is start off with just a small little concept, okay? What you're going to be doing is collecting data, all right? From that data, you're going to then determine a response at the end. It's something that we did over the summer in our advanced authoring class, but it just gets you in that mindset of using your advanced actions, okay? Anything that you can do, so one of the things I want you to be mindful of is keep this stuff fluid here, right? So position, I don't know why it's not doing it now, but stuff like this here, you see that they have the anchor bars. Okay, that means you're doing pretty good as far as having this being responsive. So keep your anchors in there, and I'll be able to check that once I preview it, and you'll see that shortly. I also want to make sure that, please, whenever you can, whenever you have some sort of design, please put it on the master slide. This is a very small, quick little exercise. It's going to be repetitive. It's going to be clean. All you're doing is gathering information. You're not trying to wow your audience. So you can see that I just have two little lines in the logo here kind of faded out. That's all I need. I want that to be repetitive on every slide, so why not just put it in my master slide, okay? And the idea is this. You're going to go ahead and start this off. You'll have some sort of title. You'll have some sort of something. I'm not going too crazy. You'll have your button, right? Make sure that your button, remember, okay? So look it over here, my style name. Make sure that when you're using buttons, anytime that you're doing anything in Captivate, that you give it a style name. I have one for navigation and I have one for selections, okay? So please do that. Let's see, some quick laundry to go over here. Make sure that it has the hand cursor. Click down here, which is underneath the Actions tab. And for the love of Pete, make sure you're disabling that click sound. Disabling the click sound, okay? This is my title. Nothing crazy happening here. You are going to possibly, I don't know if it does it by default, but you can see there's a fluid box here. Try not to use fluid boxes just yet. You're more than welcome to give it a shot, but just not yet. And what you're going to want to do is when you go to create something, so for instance, I put this start button on here, what you can do is in the style, See, in the style of this button, when you create something like this, it's going to automatically position it inside of your fluid box, whether you decide to put one on there or not. What you can do is underneath style, you can see that it says unlock from fluid box. That's going to be an option. Go ahead and click that so you can just freely put that button wherever it is that you want. You don't have to put it down here and you don't have to mimic this, but if you don't want it to be part of your fluid box, you always have this option to do the unclick from fluid box, okay? So here's the gist of it. Here's a sample content slide of something that I would like you to do, okay? It is basically you're going to be asking 5 questions. I want you to ask 5 questions, gather that information, and then once you have that information, what you're going to then do is on this last slide, you can see that I have a couple possibilities here. And let me do this correctly. So I'm going to hide congrats and I'll hide apply. So you can see here that there is a variable here called decision. This variable of decision, depending on what this is going to either say sorry, please consider this in the future, or it's going to say congratulations and then apply, all right? So again, this is just something we've done before. We're going to be gathering information from some of these questions. Once you decide on what those questions are, you're going to write a script that says, if it's this, do that. If it's that, do this. And I'm going to show you that here shortly, but I just wanted to kind of give you a holistic approach of what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to begin here with your content. I want to see 5 of these. I want to see 5 questions on any topic that you want. I'm choosing to do a Bloomsburg University 4+1 program, okay? So there's certain criteria that you need to become into the 4+1 program. I'm going to generically say that there's 5 questions, and then so on and so forth. What I want to do is not only do I want to capture the variable, but I want the user to always have access to their answers, right? It doesn't make much sense in this particular example, but it depends on what it is. Like if you have questions that build on each other, so be it, so have you. But in this case, I want their answers to always be accessible to them. So just quickly, what I'm going to show you is preview. I'm going to just do this slide here, next 5 slides. This will be your slide, okay? They have a question. Are you a junior or senior in high school? You could either say that you're a junior. And then by saying that I'm a junior, you can see that this X comes up here in green. If I say that I'm a senior, you can see that the X comes up in green here and then goes away from the X here, all right? And then, of course, finally, you could say neither. So the moment that you make your selection, so you could say that I'm going to choose neither, I can click on my answers, and then this nice little drop-down comes up and it says, there's my response 1, okay? And there we go. Then I close it. And the fact that I said neither, now I can continue on to the next slide, and it says, obviously there's going to be more, okay? So I'm not going to do all 5 for the length of this. I just wanted to show you here. So my decision filled in that said I am not, which means I'm sorry, and then the X button shows, okay? So how does all that happen? How does all that work? You're all familiar with this. You've all done this before. I know that you know how to use everything that Captivate has to offer. I just want to make sure that we're okay here. So let me hide this. So the first things first is you're going to work on your answer button. So the answer button, I'm going to click on this. I went ahead and put this in the state view. You do not have to do this the way that I'm doing it. I am just giving you the way that I set this up. All right, it's all preferential when it comes to design and development. Here is my preference. Actually, it's not my preference. It's what quickly came to my mind and I wanted to share. So I have this answer button. It is, in fact, a button. I went over to state view. And what I did is, just so I didn't have too many things on the screen that I had to hide and jump and all that stuff, all I did was create a visited state. And in that visited state, you can see that I put this little drop-down box. Okay, I added an animation on it. You can see that right here by this red box and this arrow thing. Okay, and that's over here in timing, right? So timing, and it's just let's see, I'm going to click on this thing, and it's not showing what it is. There it is, fly in from top. Okay, so it's just a basic animation that I put on this, and it's not going to run. So this animation does not run until that button hits the visited state, and of course we know it hits the visited state when I click on it. I don't need to code that. Okay, there doesn't have to be any action that says change the state of, because it's a built-in. And you can see it's a built-in here when I say new state. It says inbuilt state. So all of these, the rollover, the down, and then of course there's a visited as an option. You do not need to have any type of action or trigger associated with it because it's a built-in. It knows that once it's clicked, it's been visited, and then it'll go to here, okay? So you can see here, if you remember how to do a variable, how to display a variable in Captivate is by doing the $$ signs, right? And you're wondering, well, where do I create my variables? Well, if you go all the way to the top, and I don't know if I'm recording this correctly or not, if you get the whole screen, but way at the top you can see it says project. When you click on project, oh, wait, I got to get out of the state view here. Just remember this, right? So I have 5 variables. You are going to have 5 questions. Of each question is going to update a variable, okay? I'm going to hit exit here, exit state. And again, way at the top, it might not be in the recording, but if you hit project at the upmost bar, and then it says variables. And what I did is I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables called response 1, response 2, response 3, response 4, and response 5. And I also have a variable in here called decision, which you'll see here shortly, and you might as well just go ahead and add. So just make sure that you have these responses, that it's spelled correctly, that it's case sensitive. Remember all of those things, okay? So once you have your variables determined, you can go ahead and do just what I did. Make sure that it's designed nicely in your little answers doc. But then we need to update them, right? And that is where the advanced actions come in. So when I click on this particular option right here, you can see that I want to do a couple things. And the first and foremost I want to show you again is I have a properties here, a state. And you can see that my normal state is blank, my down state is blank. I don't even think I need that, but we'll leave it here as is. But then, of course, you see my visited state has that X. So that visited state, I do not need to have an action on that because it's built in. The moment that I select it, it'll go automatically to the visited state. The one thing that you do have to do is change it, right? So just because I clicked on the visited here, if I were to click on click on this, it would also show as visited. So it's just one of those organization things that you have to say, I want this to be visited, but if I change my mind, I want this to go back to normal and this to go back to normal. Okay, so what does that look like? I'm gonna go over here to my actions. And you have to think about all the things that you want to have done, okay? So when I click on I am a junior, what I want to have happen is I want the senior and then the no, which is the neither, to return to normal. And I'm only saying that we don't know what the user's going to do. They might just click right away on junior and move on, which is perfect. But if they accidentally click senior or don't understand the question and hit neither, I don't know what the case may be, but I'm just thinking about what your topic might be, and they might change their mind. We want to make sure that that reverts only to show that green X if it's the one they're actually selecting. Okay, so in this sense, if junior is going to be in the visited, meaning I'm clicked, I need to have senior and neither to be normal, which of course doesn't have the green X. So once I do that, I then want to assign, right, a variable, so that a variable of response 1, I want that to say junior. And I want to make sure that don't make this something arbitrary, make it clean and concise because it is going to be updated in this answers panel here. So make sure that it is really clean, right? So I have a capital J and a junior and all that stuff. But then what I also want to do then is after I make my selection, I want to go ahead and show this next button. Okay, so I'm going to say show next. All right, I'm going to close that for now. And some of the things that I want you to do here is you can see when I click on this next button, I don't want it to be in the preview right away. I only want that next button to show up once they make a selection up here at the top. So you want to see this next right here. You want to make sure that that eyeball right here, see that? You want to make sure that that has the big red line through it. And then that red line means it's not visible in the output, but of course it will become visible once we make a selection based on our thing, okay? And just to kind of further put into tune what I'm talking about, I'm going to go ahead and click on this advanced action on senior, okay? So again, if I were to click junior and then you're like, wait a minute, I'm a knucklehead, I'm actually a senior, you want to make sure that you're changing the state of the other two buttons that are not being selected to normal. So only the green shows up on the one that is actually selected. You can see now that response 1 is not being updated to junior, but of course it's being updated to senior. And then I want to show that next button again, okay? So that is a good little run through of using advanced action. Some other things, I'm going to go ahead and show you this advanced action here because you can see on my timeline down here that I have some red lines through some objects here. And I'm going to go ahead and just click on this one real quick. And this is just a background, okay? So when I click on this, you can see that it's called close background and I have a red line through it. That's because I don't want that to be seen until it's initiated by some sort of action that I have, okay? And that's really easy to do. And I know there's no layers in Captivate, right? There's absolutely no layers. But what there are is this option to not only just put anything on the screen that we want, but we can hide it in output so it almost appears as if it's a layer based on the action. And then just to keep things clean, we can hide it down here with this eyeball. So this eyeball hides it from us, the developer. This eyeball up here, wait for it, up here hides it from the user, okay? So those are the things that we have to do, and I feel good about what we got going on because I'm going to show you this answer thing here again. Just remember when you go to design these things, you're more than welcome to mimic this as much as you want. Go ahead and pause at any time to look at my code. Just remember, it's all about organizing when you do an advanced action, okay? So I have that background that I showed you. I have a close button, and I have this button here changing state. So there's certain things that I have happening. So all I want this answer button to do is show the close button and show that background. Those two things that I've hidden down here, but are also hidden up here. I just want that to show to kind of keep it clean, look like something's actually happening, right? But then interestingly, because when I click on answers, because that is an automatic built-in and it's going to the visited state to show everything that I want, what I'm going to have to do then is I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to go to my close button. You can see that I have an advanced action on that as well. And the advanced action on that close button is, yes, I'm going to hide the close button, and yes, I'm going to hide that background, but I also need to change the state of that answers, right? The one that I showed you up here. I need to change that back to normal so that actually goes away. And all this, once you start building yours and trying to mimic this, if that's what you see fit, it'll start making a little bit more sense, okay? So now, I will go ahead and I will run through this really quick again. I'm going to say preview. Next 5 slides seems fine. So here we go. I'm going to hit start. I'm going to say neither, okay? You see my green check came up. You see next came up. But if I change my mind, you see that green X went up here, etc., etc. You check my answers. You can see it says neither. My background came up. You see that I had there? It kind of fades it out. And then, of course, this close button came out. Now, this close button has brand new actions associated with it, which is going to make this close button go away, this background go away, and then change the state of answers back to normal so it looks like it's just closing. See that? Cool. So now you're wondering what's next. So now when I hit next, you see that that decision variable is updated, wondering where that might be happening. And then also this here, this sorry, and then this please consider are being shown. And let me just show you. I don't know if I can redo that quick from here. So I'm going to say, so now it says congratulations, okay? So it's based on, and then it says are here. So it's based on, just at the moment, it's based on just that one particular question for me. Okay, so it says congratulations and apply. So what does that look like? I know some of you who had me over the summer who apparently enjoyed me as a professor so much you took this class again. You know how to do this already, but for those of you who did not, what we're doing here is we're going to use the on-enter. And just to translate this over to what storyline is, the on-enter is very similar and basically the same as when timeline starts. In Captivate, it's just called on-enter. And I want to do a brand new script, and I want to do an advanced action again, but this time it's completely different, okay? And I've got this all kind of panned out here, but I'm going to show you a new one. This is what you'll see, what you've normally seen in an advanced action when you've gone to this point, when you've made your questions and all that. You can see that it looks just like this. But what we need to do is base this on a condition, right? Because we want, if the variable says this, to do that. If the question responses say this, then that. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, we need to have that if-else scenario, okay? And that is what you do is you just click this thing right here called a conditional tab. And the moment you click that, you see what happens here. It says if. And then it gives me options, and then an action, and then else is down here, okay? But I've already done that here with results. And you can see I click this, and I have a multitude of things happening, and you're going to have even more than this, okay? This is where it's going to get tricky, and by all means, send an email, whatever it is that you want to do. But for now, I want you to get started on this. You can see that I have decision yes at the top, decision no at the top, apply at the top, and exit at the top. I believe it just comes with 3. You're going to have a ton, okay? You're going to have an absolute ton, I think. So it depends on your topic, really. If you need to add more, you just hit this plus sign right here, and then in doing so, you can see what it does right there is it adds it, and it says entitled 5. Okay, and this is nothing more than organizing and just having a basic conversation with yourself, okay? So to start, I'm going to go back here, and you're going to see this right here, decision. So it says, thank you for taking the time to complete this questionnaire. Based on your responses, we feel you are, so that would be a yes, a candidate for the 4+1 program. So what I want that to do is, I'm going to say, well, if response 1, and this is going to go back to my questions up here in the previous slide, I went ahead and typed that in. So if they hit neither, I said, if they hit neither, assign the response 1 variable with neither. So just to kind of make this okay, I pretty much said yes. So if the response is not equal to neither, meaning it's junior or senior, they're eligible, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and say assign decision right here with R. right? So just read the sentence if you were trying to make sense of this. We feel you are. So yes equals are a candidate for the 4+1 program. And this is what you're going to want to do when you come to the responses. You could see that the only bad response in that particular question that I had, meaning the one that's going to make sure you aren't eligible for the 4+1 program, is if you choose neither. You're still eligible if you're a junior, and you're still eligible if you're a senior. So just not equal to neither means the other two are good, means you're okay. Decision no is, if you click on this, means it is equal to neither. So that response one variable was updated. It was updated to neither. And if it's updated to neither, that means I want to go ahead and assign this decision variable, which you see right here, with are not. Okay? So that would read, we feel you are not a candidate for the 4+1 program. Okay? So now that I have that decision variable updated, okay, I'm going to move over to the next part of it. And I want all of this stuff to happen on enter frame, right? So the moment that this starts, I want all of these things to start happening. So now I'm going to move over to the apply. And now I can use this decision variable. So I'm going to say if that decision variable is equal to r, right? So r, we're making it variable equal to r if it's a yes. So I go to apply. If the decision is equal to r, show congrats and show the apply button. So that means you're in, we're excited to have you, and we want you to click the button below to apply. Okay? And then of course if you come to exit, if you are not, so if this says are not a candidate, which means no, which we determined back here, I want to go ahead and say show the sorry text and then show the exit button so they can get out. Okay? All right. So what does that look like? I'm just going to run through this really quickly. And I know, you can pause this at any time, but I want to show you. What you're going to want to do, what yours is going to look like is this. So response 1 is not equal to neither. Okay? Well, you're going to have a lot. So you're going to want to have, if they're going to, I don't know how you want to set it up, but just make sure that you have at least 5 questions where you're collecting 5 responses, okay? And you're going to either set it up where all 5 have to be true, or 4 out of the 5 have to be true, what have you. It all depends on you. So I'm going to say here, response 1 is not equal to neither. So if it's not equal to neither, that's a yes. But there's 4 other ones that I have to deal with, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and either A, hit this plus button up here, see that? Or just double click below. And you can see the moment that I double click below, just follow this along here. It says response 1 is not equal to neither. And, so it says variable here. You want to make sure that you're collecting your variables. So I'm going to click on variable and I'm going to go through this list. I need to find response 2 through 4, right? So just as an example here, I'm going to say response 2. And I'm going to set that theme. I'm always going to have one response of the 3 that is just going to be able to solidify that they're not into it. It's just the bad one. So I'm going to say, again, is not equal to, and this will be literal. So the variable is something that is built in that that Captivate is looking for. But if you're going to be updating, so I probably in my response 2, you see that I need to think of something. So here I'm just going to say if response 2 is not equal to, let's see here, liberal arts. Okay? So basically what I'm saying is on response 2, so on question 2, if they selected liberal arts, then they're not eligible, okay? And the other 2 meant they were eligible, but I'm just kind of giving them some options and guiding them through. So that's how you would do that. A couple things here that I want to show you. You could see that neither up here, and I'm just going to say update action real quick just to show you. I'm going to come back to this, close. You can see that when I was on neither down here, my script was right here, assign, and I'll delete this just to show you. I want to assign, so I'm going to go to assign, response 1, so look for it, response 1, and I had to go literal here, because variable is something that's in there that I can just go from a drop-down list, whereas literal, I can type whatever I want, and that's where I get neither from, okay? So I'm going to say update action, which is not really necessary, but I'm going to say okay. So, but that's where my neither came from. And then you could imagine if I had another question, it would, one of the options and one of the buttons would be liberal arts, okay? So I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to go to my on enter, and I'm going to go to my script. The only thing that I want to show you here is that neither is just one word, okay? So everything's fine. But the moment that I typed liberal arts, you'll notice now that there's quotes. You see those quotes? And that's because Captivate works in JavaScript, okay? And JavaScript has to somehow let us know that this is two words and there's supposed to be a space here. And it does that by putting it in quotes, okay? So you don't have to worry about it being weird or it not working. Just make sure that it has quotes around it if there's two words. And everything matters. So when I went back there, you saw me type in neither. I have a capital N. But if I were to put a lowercase n right here, albeit I had a capital N in the script, it wouldn't work. So it's very case sensitive. You just be very organized, and I think you'll be okay. All right? So what yours is going to say, if response 1 and response 2 and response 3 and response 4, you're good to go, okay? But you can change this as well. It doesn't have to say and, because right now at the top here it says if all conditions are true. So I'm not getting an option. I'm not getting any option here whatsoever. These all have to say and. If I say any of the conditions are true, you can see that it's given me an or now, okay? So I could say if response 1 or response 2 or response 3. So you have options here. Just know that these drop-down menus give you some wiggle room to kind of move things around. So this is my example. I want you to mimic something. The topic does not matter. I honestly do not care what it is. I'm just saying that you need, I'm going to say no. The requirement is that you have something like this, that they can check their answers at any time, that they have a navigation where they can go through and make it almost seem like a tab thing, okay? And what I want, as I said, is 5 of these questions. So I want you to go ahead and have 5 questions where you're gathering information based on their responses, where you're updating variables, right? So just like this, I want to see at least 5 variables being updated. And then, of course, once you have all of this figured out, what you would do then is have a final slide, which is saying anything along the lines of anything that you want to do. Like, based on your responses, you are into the program, you can play football, like, you can be an Italian cook. Whatever it is that you want, you have all of these options here, and that would be on the on answer, okay? So this should get you started. Try and get something done by next week. We'll go over it in class if we need more time, but this is a great exercise in getting you refreshed and understanding advanced actions.